In this video, we're ranking every single exotic special weapon in Destiny 2 into a tier list for PvP. This is part 2 of the series looking at weapons that require special ammo, and parts 1 and 3 covering primary and heavy ammo can be found in the description. Starting with the kinetics in alphabetical order, we have the brand new trace rifle, the Ager Scepter. This is the newest of the exotic trace rifles which has come to us in Season of the Lost. Unlike its cousins, Ager's is the only trace rifle which belongs to the kinetic slot since it features the stasis elemental type. Unfortunately, trace rifles need special ammo to work, but they only offer a slightly faster time to kill than that of similar weapons like auto rifles that consume primary ammo. In practice, this means that they don't offer a good enough kill time for me to suggest using them in most PvP scenarios. Sure, they can earn you a kill slightly faster than most primary weapons, but you're going to have to take into account that you're typically going to forfeit your one-hit kill special weapon to use one of these. Otherwise, you're going to face some potentially huge ammo issues. Ager's exotic perk doesn't help us much here either. Once you get a kill, it slows nearby enemies. Again, this seems helpful, but you could also use that special ammo with a Cloudstrike, which does the job of killing multiple enemies much easier, and it only requires a single bullet. The Catalyst gives the Ager Scepter an alternate fire mode. When your super is full, you can activate the Ager's alternate mode, which significantly beefs up its damage. It also makes the Ager slow on hit, which is extremely devastating. Unfortunately, unless you're playing Bottom Tree Night Stalker, your super is probably more valuable than the 20 or so seconds of the buff damage. Not to mention, you still need to have special ammo for this alternate mode to even work. Shout out to my friend Pattycakes, who makes the most use out of this weapon from anyone that I've seen. He stalks his prey by hiding up in the ceilings and uses the beefed up damage to melt enemies instead of using his super, since the multi-teller is arguably the worst super in Destiny. We have much better roaming supers in the game capable of getting 5 or more kills in PvP without much trouble, so it's tough to trade that power spike for a little bit of more primary weapon lethality. So the Ager Scepter is going into the D tier. If you're watching this video less than 2 hours before your bedtime, you might want to take off your headphones and look away right now, otherwise this might give you nightmares. A couple of seasons ago, the Arbalest used to be the only linear fusion rifle in the game that consumed special ammo. On PC, it wasn't quite as obnoxious since PvP plays a lot faster and most players could use a sniper rifle really effectively, but on console, the lower frame rate and FOV made playing against an Arbalest a true nightmare. Back then, the aim assist was so high that you could easily curve a headshot around corners and kill players before they even saw you. With any kind of damage boost, Arbalest could one-shot body shot all guardians except those who run 10 resilience. Since then, its aim assist has been rightfully nerfed, but it's still a quite viable special weapon in today's meta, especially if you pair it with some sort of a damage boost. I'm going to rank this one in the B tier, because in the end, a sniper rifle fulfills the same purpose but without any charge time. Speaking of nightmarish weapons, let's not forget about the Bastion. This exotic fusion rifle actually sits in the kinetic slot. It has the charge time of a precision frame fusion rifle, but it fires 3 volleys of 7 bolts each. This makes Bastion extremely forgiving, as you can be very loose with your aim but still pick up the kill. In the past, 1 bolt was actually enough to instantly kill a guardian, so if you were skilled enough, you could theoretically get a triple kill by flicking between your targets. Alternatively, you could burn through a Titan shield and have the last bolt left to kill the Titan behind it. The ease of use made Bastion very oppressive, although it did suffer slightly in the range department compared to other fusions. Since then, the Bastion has received a hefty nerf. Now the bolts spread out further, and 1 bolt isn't enough to kill a guardian. It also isn't enough to kill a Titan behind a barricade anymore. Bastion's lost a lot of its uniqueness, and honestly, I think you're probably better off practicing with a traditional fusion rifle in the Crucible for the most part. It's still pretty forgiving though if you're able to track your target. So I'm going to rank Bastion in the B tier. Izanagi's Burden is an exotic sniper rifle in the kinetic slot. It comes from the Black Armory, which is the foundry that delivered some of the most iconic and unforgettable weapons in Destiny 2's history. This one's no exception, as it's the only sniper rifle in the game able to one-shot body shot kill with absolutely no help from the outside. All you need is 4 special ammo shots, and then you can activate the Izanagi's exotic perk. This allows you to chamber 1 high damage shot which can kill even supers in a single body shot. While this certainly sounds like an awesome exotic on paper, it does have some downsides. Most importantly, Izanagi's doesn't have a snapshot, which is near mandatory for a sniper to feel good in PvP. To make up for that lack in snappiness, you probably need to pair it with an exotic like the Ophidian Aspect or the Dragon Shadow. Since scavenger mods were recently nerfed, it's also a bit harder to collect the ammo necessary to secure that 4 times boosted body shot kill. In Trials of Osiris, for example, you're only going to get enough ammo after you kill someone, but by that point, you've probably already won the round. Landing body shot killing blows is certainly fun in 6v6 modes, but if you're a decent sniper and you can land your headshots, you can also do the same thing without needing to spend 4 bullets for every shot. This is Destiny we're talking about after all, one of the most forgiving FPS games of all time. Honestly, the lack of snapshot is what hurts Izanagi's the most for me, so I'm going to rank it in the B tier as well. Let's take a moment to step away from the tier list and just appreciate something together. I have to give huge props to Bungie for every single text mechanical weapon that they've ever made. Just take a look at them. They're so sleek, stylish, and unique. I love everything about them from a design standpoint. The Chaperone is a slug shotgun made by Tex Mechanica with maybe a bit too much range. More specifically, it's actually the only slug shotgun able to kill at just under 13 meters in its base form. And if that wasn't enough, the Chaperone's exotic perk activates on a precision kill and it massively increases the Chaperone's range along with buffing the reload speed and the RPM. This might sound like an okay skill trade-off to you, but the reality is that the aim assist is so high on the Chaperone that it's going to gift you a headshot if your enemy's crit spot is anywhere near that inner circle of the reticle. Seriously, this shotgun is the king of sprees right now. Once you get your first headshot kill, you can decimate a lobby as long as your reticle is anywhere near the enemy's head. In particular, you can crouch before shooting with the Middle Tree Night Stalker and add free wall hacks to the picture. It's comically strong together. In a sandbox where pellet shotguns are a bit inconsistent and fusion rifles just barely break that 20 meter mark, the Chaperone becomes an easy to use and unstoppable slug shotgun worthy of the S tier. The Witherhoard is one of the most unique special weapons in all of Destiny 2. It's technically a grenade launcher, but it fires out these projectiles that spawn a taken blight pool when they hit the ground. These pools deal some massive damage to anyone who touches them, and if you stick an enemy with a direct hit from the Witherhoard, they're probably gonna die. The better players out there won't have a hard time dodging these blights, and with special ammo being harder to come across lately, you're not going to have ammo quite as often as you need it. Though don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that the Witherhoard can't be an amazing weapon to round off a team build. Especially in game modes with an objective, the Witherhoard can be an amazing tool. For example, in Trials of Osiris, you can effectively stop someone from getting res by putting the Witherhoard pool beneath them. It's also really effective against those annoying stag warlocks who are camping in their rifts. It does take some skill to use the Witherhoard effectively, but still, it's hard for me to rank it any higher than the C tier, since that same time could be invested into other weapons that would probably be a bit more useful overall. Time to move over to the energy slot. Borealis is an aggressive frame sniper rifle whose exotic perk lets it change elemental types. This is mostly just a novelty, but you can synergize it with certain exotics to get a little bit more benefit. For example, there's the Titan's exotic boots Path of the Burning Steps, or the Warlock's exotic helmet the Nezarec Sin. Both of these provide a little bit of PvP synergy. Other than that, you're probably best avoiding the arc mode as it might trigger your opponent's Risk Runner. Borealis' main attractions are the very low zoom stat at 45 as well as the crazy high stats. It has high aim assist, high stability, and most importantly very high handling. Although it doesn't have snapshot intrinsically, you can pair the high handling with a targeting mod to get kinda close. Personally though, I still find myself wanting to use either Ophidians or Dragon Shadow to have the fastest possible scope and speed. When you break an enemy's super shield with the matching elemental type in PvP, you get a damage bonus. This is really cool in theory, but unfortunately it's not strong enough to let you one-shot body shot kill in PvP like you could from an Empowering Rift. If this sniper had snapshot intrinsically, I'd maybe go for A tier, but since it basically requires a specific exotic for it to feel usable to me, I'm gonna have to rank Borealis in the B tier. Sorry Titans. Our next exotic is perfect for any AC/DC fans who watch my videos. I'd play the song for you, but I think YouTube will demonetize me. This is easily one of the most fun exotic weapons in Destiny. Landing a headshot will instantly kill anyone standing close enough to your target. Just look at these multi-kills in the background. Cloudstrike is the king of collaterals. It's a 140 RPM arc sniper with 50 zoom and an extremely deadly evolution of the Dragonfly perk. Unfortunately, snapshot is again lacking on the Cloudstrike, but the aim down sight speed is actually pretty okay, especially with a targeting mod or Ophidian aspects. I would highly suggest keeping a Cloudstrike in your pocket. You can quickly condition your opponents to not hold hands, otherwise they risk getting erased from the battlefield by just a single shot. I've actually ended a few trials rounds with just a single bullet from the sniper. Unfortunately, the Cloudstrike's other exotic perk is kinda wasted for PvP. If you manage to get 3 headshots back to back to back in the Crucible, your third kill will summon a lightning storm. This makes for some really cool pyrotechnics, but it's not really effective. The initial strike from your headshots will almost always kill everyone close enough to get hit by the storm. This sniper also suffers from some of the biggest flinch of any weapon that I've used in Destiny. Still, the Cloudstrike lands in the A tier with the potential for S tier in the right situations. If you're just starting out a match of Iron Banner, you might want to stop literally everyone on the enemy team from getting that sweet bounty progress. Coldheart is another trace rifle with all the same trace rifle problems. They kill too slowly for using special ammo and they have too steep of an aim requirement to get that kill time. Coldheart does get some bonus points for its exotic perk. It deals ramped up damage the longer you stay on target, so if you're an actual aimbot, it can melt enemies pretty fast. But if you're already putting in all this effort to aim your gun, why not just take a sniper rifle and get the job done in just one shot? Honestly, trace rifles are really fun to use, but in any competitive setting, I just don't really see the benefit right now. I'm going to put it in the D tier. In a similar light, Divinity fails to impress. It's a trace rifle that paints a massive crit bubble around your opponent. It can be really funny at times since you can keep damaging the bubble even if your enemy is technically behind cover. You might think that the giant crit bubble would make it really easy to achieve a good kill time, but the reality is that Divinity deals way less damage than the other trace rifles. Its optimal base time to kill is a ridiculously slow 1.13 seconds. This is absurdly slow. Basically every single primary weapon will kill faster. Fortunately, the meme potential with Divinity is way too good to pass up though. Take this idea for example. Use a messenger with Desperado as your primary weapon. Then you can paint a crit bubble on someone, finish them off with a messenger from hipfire mode. You're guaranteed a precision kill, so now you can reload for Desperado and proceed to melt the entire other team. No aiming skill required to get the first kill. You can do the same idea with a bottom tree throwing knife on Hunter. But the problem with these is that you can also just kill around the same speeds with any decent primary weapon, and then you can actually have a good special weapon in your loadout. Memes aside, there's just no saving Divinity from the F tier. Some Guardians prefer to use pellet shotguns like the Felwinter's Live for the ease of use. Others prefer slugs for the crazy one-hit kill distance. Maybe you can't make up your mind though on which one you prefer. Well, don't worry, because our next exotic, the Duality, has you covered. You can decide on the fly if you'd rather fire a spread of pellets or a precision slug. In hipfire mode, Duality is just your average mediocre precision frame spread shotgun. When aiming down sights though, Duality can land a much deeper kill around 12 meters. What's so great about mashing two good or maybe average guns into one? Well, flexibility in the heat of the battle is key. You can defend against enemies trying to close the gap as quickly as possible with the hipfire mode, and then seamlessly land a slug kill at nearly twice the distance. Sometimes you need to thread a slug through a tiny angle where your traditional pellets might mostly miss. Other times you need to defend yourself against an ape and you don't have time to line up that perfect headshot. Duality combines two of the strongest meta special weapon types into one and lets you choose which one you prefer on the fly. Let's not forget that it also comes with a breech-loaded cylinder. While this is an awesome aesthetic feature, it also means that you no longer have to painstakingly reload one shell at a time into your shotgun. In almost every way, the Duality is just amazing. It's one of the only guns challenging the Chaperone for the best pound-for-pound special weapon in the game. This one is an easy S tier. Eriana's Vow is a hand cannon which breathes fire, just look at it. It's a unique 90 RPM hand cannon with a lot of range and a lot of damage. Unlike all other hand cannons, Eriana's actually takes special ammo, but it can deliver a hefty punch. Its perk, Death at First Glance, gives Eriana's bonus damage as long as you're hitting your headshots while aiming down sights. If you miss though, you're going to need to wait a little bit to reactivate this bonus damage. With First Glance active, you can delete almost all of your enemy's health in one headshot. Combining this with any kind of a damage boost will allow Eriana's to absolutely snipe your opponents in just one headshot, unless they're running very high resilience. Unfortunately for PvP, it's a special weapon that needs help to land that one-shot kill. While the big chunk damage is very nice for team engagements, you can also achieve basically the same outcome with just an average bow. Where Eriana's really shines though is when you pair it with a quick swapping weapon. For example, you can use the Hunter Lucky Pants boots with a 120 RPM hand cannon to take two high damage shots back to back for a very fast time to kill. Of course, this is putting all of your eggs in the medium range basket. You won't have the utility of a normal sniper rifle to kill at the super long ranges, nor have the close range protection of a shotgun or a fusion rifle to kill in one blast. It's a fun combo, and in the hands of a very talented player, it can be very scary, but for the most part, I think it's a middle of the road exotic. That's why I'm going to rank Eriana's in the B tier. Okay, so I gotta admit, I have actually no idea how to properly pronounce the name of this weapon. I've looked it up multiple times, and I just can't make my mouth create these sounds. But don't worry, I still know what's on the inside. A toaster. This toast is so evil and deadly that it will chase down your opponents for a one-shot kill. Even if it misses, it'll leave a burning damage field wherever it hits. By the way, for my Titan mains out there, the toaster is one of the only special weapons that creates a sunspot on kill. This sounds like a really overpowered weapon, and until you get into the habit of consciously dodging the toast, it can easily snipe you from across the map. Even very skilled players can fall victim to the toaster if they aren't careful. But still, I'm going to rank the toaster in the C tier. Why? Well, mostly because if I put it any lower, my friend the IRL Titan, who's the biggest toaster fan on earth, would probably crush my skull. But seriously, what bothers me the most is the fact that if your enemy is skilled enough, which isn't too uncommon, they'll consistently dodge your shots. Sometimes it feels like it's not even in your control if the projectile actually connects with your opponent. Sure, the toaster works pretty nicely in close range, but at that point you could also just take a traditional fusion rifle and probably yield more consistent results. Good players will rarely let you toast them, and they're going to grill you in return. So don't use the toaster unless you specifically want to play around the sunspots, and then maybe you could rank it a bit higher. Our next exotic is yet another one which is guaranteed to give you some nightmares. Again, if you're close to bedtime, please look away right now. The Lorentz driver is another linear fusion rifle which takes special ammo. Unlike the Arbalest, this one actually hasn't had its aim assist nerfed, and it also comes with a lot of useful perks. The main gameplay loop is something like this. Lorentz highlights someone and then you go kill that player. As a reward, you get a telemetry to pick up. Do this 3 times and then the Lagrangian sight activates. This empowers Lorentz to one-shot body shot every Resilience Guardian for 30 seconds. But wait, there's more. If you get a headshot, you'll create this massive implosion which sucks your opponents in like an OG Duskfield grenade. And if you have the Catalyst, you'll create these implosions on every body shot kill. Speaking of the Catalyst, if the Lorentz didn't have enough benefits, the Catalyst also gives you enhanced radar resolution. Those were a lot of perks. Some community members have even called out Lorentz for being way too good for being a special linear fusion rifle, and I'd probably have to agree, Lorentz is kinda busted. It can easily deliver a one-shot kill and then spread that damage to neighboring enemies. Due to its low zoom, it barely gets flinched at all, and it can easily delete opponents who are shooting at you with a fully automatic weapon. Its only real natural predator is the sniper rifle, which can beat it in a duel if you don't pre-charge your shot fast enough. Still though, the Lorentz is going into the S tier. It's incredibly impressive in the right hands in the current sandbox. I think that I'm beginning to see a trend in this tier list. Our best entries are the ones that create the most sleep disturbances. Lord of Wolves definitely created many sleepless nights back in its prime. Since then, it's been nerfed many times, and I would say now it's pretty balanced. If you weren't aware, Lord of Wolves is like a shotgun, fusion rifle, pulse rifle hybrid. It has the range of a slug shotgun, it fires a spread of 5 bolts like a fusion, but it does it without any charge time like a pulse rifle. Its alternate fire mode shoots a spread of 10 bolts instead of 5. A while back, it had substantially more range and no penalties whatsoever while in the Release the Wolves mode. This was immediately busted since no other weapon could kill so easily from so far away. Today though, the alternate fire mode experiences a pretty hefty penalty. Just look at where these bolts go. Sure, there are 10 of them, but landing them in this form is much less likely. You should basically always use the default mode these days unless you're face to face with a super. For landing all bolts as body shots, you can kill your opponent in just one shot really fast. Lord of Wolves is really good in today's meta, but I feel like the instant kill of Duality at around the same range offers just a bit more playmaking potential. Still, the Lord of Wolves is going into the A tier. Merciless is an exotic high impact fusion rifle. I know those stats look really awesome with the Catalyst, but let's take a moment and talk about the changes to the high impact fusion rifles for a second. At base, they now take a full second to charge, and they only fire 5 bolts. Unless you have some kind of a damage booster, you're going to need to land 4 out of those 5 bolts to secure a kill. Bungie said that they wanted to create a risk-reward situation. You need to pre-charge your high-impact fusion, but you can secure a kill from pretty far away. But I don't really think that the range of these high impacts is nearly good enough to warrant that long of a charge time. Also, landing 4 out of the 5 bolts is just too steep of a requirement compared to the much easier to use fusion rifles out there. Merciless has great stats which naturally make it a very good high impact fusion rifle, and it also comes with the buffed up version of Kill Clip, which is a great addition. Unfortunately though, its exotic perk is not too useful for PvP. If you land non-lethal hits, the Merciless will decrease its charge time for the next shot. For PvP, landing non-lethal hits with such a long charge time is almost always going to get you killed. So I think the Merciless got nerfed a bit too hard for me to rank it anywhere higher than the D tier. Up next are a couple of trace rifles. As I mentioned, these are not too great of choices in the current meta. Considering that they use special ammo, they just kill way too slowly and have too high of a precision requirement. When there's instant kill special weapon options on the table, it's really hard to recommend any trace rifle. Also, you can easily defeat a trace by just peek shotting using a hand cannon, a pulse rifle, or any decent scout rifle. Our first contender is the Prometheus Lens, which actually has a really interesting perk. It partially reloads from reserves whenever you get a kill. It also deals AoE damage, which is really nice. Out of all the trace rifles, this one definitely feels the best to me in PvP. It's really fun to melt your enemies, but if I'm taking the game more seriously, I'm probably swapping to a different special weapon. So I'm going to put this one in the D tier. Ruinous Effigy is a void trace rifle with a really fun exotic perk. After you get a kill, you can pick up the ball from your enemy's corpse and go dunk on their teammates. The relic also has a melee mechanic and a drain mechanic, both of which are kind of risky options in my opinion. I would definitely suggest using the slam because it can get you multi-kills. Just watch this one from my friend Jingleheimer. As fun as this exotic can be, it's not enough for Ruinous to advance out of the D tier. For the meme potential though, it's definitely S tier. Next up is the gun that figures out how to break the game in a new way every single season, Telesto the Besto. Telesto at this point has basically achieved sentience and transcended the Matrix. It's like your typical fusion rifle except the bolts can stick to surfaces and to your opponents. These bolts also never receive damage drop off, meaning that you can theoretically 5-bolt any guardian from across the map. You can also set up traps for your opponents and zone off different areas. The thing is though, due to the spaghetti code, the Telesto's bolts were actually coded as enemies, meaning that they could activate many kill-based perks. Over the years, Bungie kept patching and patching Telesto over and over again. The bolts were just too hard to deal with from a programming perspective. A partial and brute force solution was during the last patch where Telesto's bolts were made immune to damage by the player, and they also no longer stuck to teammates. As awesome as it is, Telesto just isn't a perfect gun. Even though it has a lot of bugs, it's definitely a decent choice in today's meta, and I'm going to put it in the B tier. What's holding it back mostly is the reduced special ammo availability to spread more traps. Have you ever wanted to overkill your opponent so hard that they just instantly quit the game? Well, the Fourth Horseman might be the perfect weapon to do this. When you press the fire button, the Fourth Horseman releases an avalanche of pellets. It fires its 4 shots at a blistering fast 360 rounds per minute, and if you have the catalyst, the magazine size is upgraded to 5. The thing is, just 1 or 2 of these shots are typically enough to get a kill if the enemy's close enough, but if they're far away, the damage drop-off is going to render those extra shots pretty much useless. Its true strength is in the power of a shutdown against supers, but realistically, if you're getting that close to a roaming super, you're probably already dead. It's pretty funny unloading shots with the Fourth Horseman on your enemies, but it's definitely not the strongest pick, with options like Duality on the table competing for the same slot. So I'm going to rank this one in the C tier. The last of the trace rifles is the Wavesplitter. This is a void trace that is similar to the others, but with one interesting difference. The damage actually scales up and down like a sine wave. Pretty cool for my fellow science nerds out there. When you pick up an orb of light, it will instantly boost you to the maximum of the 3 power levels, which is really cool. By the way, the little oscilloscope on the back of the weapon shows you which mode you're in, which is an awesome detail. Unfortunately, the Wavesplitter also suffers from the same issues as the other trace rifles. It's fun to use, but requiring special ammo without providing a significantly faster time to kill than other primaries makes it a tough pick, so I'm going to put it in the D tier. I hope you've been enjoying the series so far. These kinds of videos take a crazy amount of work to put together, and if you want to support them directly, the best way is through my Patreon. You'll even get some extra bonuses like map guides for Trials of Osiris, special access in my Discord server, and some Q&A sessions. You can join up at patreon.com/pattycakesgg. And if we reach our next goal, I'll actually make that bow tier list that you guys keep begging me for. Speaking of Discord, are you in our community Discord server yet? We have over 11,000 members, and it's a great place to make some friends to play games with. The link to join is discord.gg/pattycakes. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to catch many more tier lists like this coming your way soon. We've got quite a few planned in the coming months. The rest of the videos of this series are linked on screen as well as in the description.